As you know, the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who is fast approaching. I feel like we're saying that a lot at the minute because we're getting ever so close each time.
And they keep pushing it away a little bit, allegedly.
Yeah, well, who knows? We still haven't got an air date yet, but hopefully we will do soon. But for now, we have exciting new... I forgot how to talk. An exciting new series of reviews because we're going to go through all of the previous anniversary specials and sort of look at them and reflect on how they are as a story as itself and how we think how well it celebrates the show up to that point. But first, we're going to go over to our news correspondent. Which is Tom, because we haven't got a budget.
Yeah.
What's your news, Tom?
So the news today, it broke yesterday. On day of recording, it broke yesterday. BBC iPlayer is going to be backlogging all 800 hours of Doctor Who content, including all bar the first 4 episodes of Classic Who, Class, Sarah Jane Adventures, Torchwood, Doctor Who Confidential as well. Everything is going to be on BBC iPlayer for the first time.
Is Dimensions in Time going to be there?
No, that can burn in hell. As I did say, if Unearthly Child, the 4-part serial, unfortunately won't be. This is down to licensing issues. The son of the original writer, where's his face? Anthony Coburn's son, Steph, has said he would not. He said the deal I offered the BBC, which my solicitor described as a solid and not off-the-scale counter-proposal, was presented ostensibly as a starting point for negotiations, and then he responded on Twitter saying, he said on Twitter, believing they would not even bother trying, I was not disappointed. Which is a bit of a shame, to be honest.
It's a shame that, at the end of the day, when all's said and done, there's only 1/4 of Unearthly Child that's worth watching anyway, because the other 3 episodes are pretty shit.
Yes.
And it's a shame that, because of Steph Coburn's beliefs in the fact that Doctor Who shouldn't be portrayed by a black man, we're now losing out on these 4 episodes. It's a shame. It's not a bad place to start off, though. I mean, the first episode is great, and it is wonderful, and it is still available on DVD, and while you buy the DVD, the money's still going to the BBC, not him.
Yeah, and it's on BritBox and ITVX for the time being, anyway, so...
and if you want a copy of it, email me, and I'll send you one. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's if the copyright's going back to a bigoted fucking idiot...
Allegedly.
Well, no, it's not allegedly.
It's just to cover our asses, to be honest.
Yeah, if you want our asses... No, I'm going to go into full rant mode here now.
No, we'll leave it there.
No. It's not allegedly. Just look at his Twitter profile and tell me that that's still allegedly. The man's a nutcase.
Yeah. Moving swiftly on before we have a big rant and...
I'll email you a copy, it's fine. I have no qualms about it.
Moving on, there's going to be a BBC 4 documentary as well. As part of the 60th anniversary, David Tennant himself will be looking back at his Doctor Who story and talking Doctor Who. This is on BBC 4 on November 1st at 7:30 UK time. I'm excited for that.
I love a good Doctor Who documentary. I mean, I find, how people have comfort programs and stuff. There's nothing better than like the bonus features on a Classic Who DVD, and this is going to be something nice as well. I've already seen people on Twitter kicking off at the fact that it's David Tennant doing it. As if he's not the incumbent Doctor.
Yeah, no, I know.
He's the current Doctor.
Let him do it.
It's fine. I think it would be fine for any of the Doctors to do it, to be honest. It's a fucking BBC 4 documentary at the end of the day. Get a life.
Yeah, I'm still going to watch it, though.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to watch that. It's going to be good fun. There's also going to be a documentary at some point on BBC 2. It was announced for being towards the end of this month, but it's been moved from the schedules now, and it's not actually popped up again since, but it will be on the radio at some point soon. Have you heard the concert?
No, but I have listened. I've listened to it. Yeah. I didn't listen to it live, but
have you listened to it? No, but yes. Have you heard it? No, I've listened to it. What do you want about?
It's been a long day.
Just deliberately trying to confuse me.
Yeah, no. The new themes for Doctor Who are obviously going to be the talking point here.
I think Ncuti might have the best theme
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely 100%. The best since I'm the Doctor.
Yeah.
Not to say the other two since have been bad. I just think Iron Doctor is really good. But this might be even better. I think the theme, Ruby's theme was nice as well. That waltz she has, it sort of gives off a bit of hints about who she's going to be and like how she is, and that sort of stuff. And the theme itself, the new theme remix, is good. I just think that obviously because it's live, you're never going to get how it's supposed to sound because you can't digitally mix everything there.
No.
It's going to be. It's one of those. I enjoyed it. It sounds great. I'm just waiting till we hear it on the telly.
Yeah.
To pass judgment on it properly then, because that's how it's meant to go out. Like, it's not, the Doctor Who theme isn't one of those ones that's ever meant to be played live.
No.
So I'm reserving judgment for that. It sounds great though. I love the mishmash. I love those bits of all sorts of different themes in there as well. I presume there'll be a bit more electronic-y stuff when it's been mixed and everything, which I'm sure by this point it probably has.
Murray's back, baby.
We are weeks away from new Doctor Who now. So to indulge in this fact, we're going to go back in time in the TARDIS to 1970. Well, actually, this is the funny thing, is that we are going to review Doctor Who's 10th anniversary story, The Three Doctors, which was broadcast between the 30th of December 1972 and the 20th of January 1973.
Yeah.
Which is a bit early, but who's keeping count? Written by Bob Baker and directed by Dave Martin. Written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin and directed by Lenny Mayne. What do you think?
I really enjoyed it. It's
good fun.
It's that first bit of carnage between the two Doctors at first with Troughton and Pertwee, and you get the first little gag of, "Oh, you've redecorated. I don't like it."
Yeah, and that comes back a couple of times through different specials with different Doctors and things. I love when it first starts, though. I love that first unit scene because it really feels like, all right, Mike isn't there, but the others, it feels like we're at the peak of the unit family dynamic. And it is, to be fair, it is after this now. It does start to tail off because Katie Manning leaves at the end of this series. Roger Delgado's killed. And then, that is... The breakup of that family does happen over the next year or two. So this is really where it's at, the peak of it.
Yeah.
I do... For the strange direction in this to take the Brigadier into a more comedic, like he's the comedy relief character in this, which in the past has sort of gone to Benton a bit, but for me it feels like in this Benton has like what would have been Jamie's part, and the Brig then gets all the comedy stuff from that probably would have been Benton, but it's just really funny, like when Dr. Tyler's in the lab and is talking to the Brig, and he's the Brig's just like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, you just crack on, I'll just do whatever, it's fine. Not like I'm in charge of this big secret military base that's got signposts for every department you could imagine, including on the outside of the building, including a massive sign that says, "Unit, keep out."
Yeah.
It's not very top secret, is it?
No, it's very much hiding in plain sight type stuff. I mean, in fairness, there's a lot of, like, top... I'd imagine thered be a lot of top secret places we just drive by or go past on a daily without realising.
Not around here.
Not around here, no, but, like, in London and stuff.
Yeah.
More definitely
I was
in
going to say,
London.
there's nothing top secret about this place. There's just aliens here in general.
Yeah.
Strange people.
Yeah.
I think it's quite interesting though, because all of this kicks off because there's some strange things and people have gone missing, and the Bessie gets nicked, and then the Doctor's like, "Oh, I'm not having that," and then the gel guards appear, and it's quite interesting to have the attack on Unit HQ because you don't see that very often, like not in the classic series anyway, because there's always some external threat that they all drive to in the jeeps and everything, and the fight is there. It's quite weird to bring the fight to
their
home
like.
essentially. The gel guards make me laugh hysterically because even though I know they look shit, but they just make me laugh. I don't know what it is. It's just the little wobble they have. Like, they're fine when they're stationary, but the moment they start moving, they just start shuffling along, looking like Mr. Blobby's smackhead cousin.
Yeah.
Like, it's just it's just so funny.
That is it to a T. Mr. Blobby if he went to uni in Treforest.
That's basically what they are, and it's just so funny because they look really menacing and the eye looks really cool, and the guns, and they obviously quite powerful, but the moment they just start shuffling along, it's just really funny.
Yeah, it really undermines their threat.
But as this threat continues to build, then Patrick Troughton appears in the TARDIS and has been sent by the Time Lords, and I love the Time Lord HQ. It all looks very 70s and everything, but they basically go, you need help here, and I like that the threat is built up as being quite a big one, because the Time Lords are like, well, if we haven't got a choice, we're going to have to send another doctor in there to help him out. But doesn't Patrick Troughton just slip straight back into the role? Like
Oh
he's never
god,
been
yeah,
away?
he's bloody perfect with this. He's straight away with it with the recorder, which just becomes the running joke of this episode, I think.
Yeah,
of
him
the
and his
serial.
recorder.
Him and his bloody recorder. I love it.
It's just so good though, because like he slips back into it with like so little effort. It's like he's only been away for a week or something. Comes back in and straight away he's on it. The dynamic between him and John Pertwee is interesting, because I think at the time when they started filming it was a little bit fictitious, because John Pertwee wasn't quite happy being usurped. He's like, well, I'm the doctor. Like, I want to be the main one. And they're like, don't worry, John, you will be.
No, you've got the rest of the series. It's just this one little story.
But it is that quite interesting thing, you could see that John Pertwee's doctor is very annoyed by Troughton at first, because it's like having your younger self turn up. Like, if your younger self from like a couple of years ago turned up, you find them annoying. Yeah. But vice versa, they would be like, oh, who's this boring
No, and then, so we have all that. Then eventually they have to send another doctor to try and get them to sort themselves out, because they're not working together. The only one they can send is the first ever doctor, William Hartnell.
Before Hartnell.
We don't. No, we're not. No. That did not happen. No, the Timeless Child is a lie. So yeah, Hartnell pops up. Unfortunately, he wasn't well enough to be on set for all of this, and they get around it by having him film, and he's trapped in a bubble.
Yeah, it's a time edit, and I think it is literally filmed in his house or at the back of his house or something. I think they've just put up drapes and stuff, and even though it is a shame and it is quite sad that he's in such ill health, but the fact that even though he's there in his house 2 years before he dies, reading this off like cue cards that are literally being held up behind the camera, he knows the character well enough to just make it feel natural.
Yeah,
like you can see there's a bit of like, oh, so you're my replacement, and it's like, but it doesn't feel too out of place because of how Hartnell played the role.
Yeah.
And I think that really does work.
And it was really nice to see him come back into that role one last time.
Yeah, it is great, because this is the last time we see him in the role, and the fact that he did get that chance to come back and do it. And it's a role that he, although had quite a bit of a difficult time towards the end filming, it's a role that I don't think he ever really stopped loving.
No.
Because of not just how popular it made him, but how popular the show was and how hard everybody worked on it to make it a success. And it's a great way of paying off that legacy by having Hartnell there in the first place.
Yeah, I think with this story it would have been wrong to have recast him.
Yeah.
Obviously they did for like the 5 Doctors and stuff, and we'll get into that event when we do that.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. But no, it was lovely just to see him taking on that role, and the mannerisms there are just never going to be topped. I think he is one of the best Doctors.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love as well how when the story properly gets going, and it's Joe and the third Doctor that are transported to the antimatter universe, while it's the second Doctor that stays with Benton and the Brigadier initially.
Oh, all that confusion.
It's like you transpose the second Doctor into a third Doctor story, and then give the third Doctor a second Doctor story, sort of exploring abandoned weird alien planet and everything. I just love the Brigadier through all of this. I mean, I like the comedic side of the Brigadier, and I like that they make him a little bit less serious. I just think that there are times where he does come across as a little bit stupid, and it's like, no, you don't need to go that far into it. I think it's a danger when you have someone like the Brigadier, who's a very strong, very headstrong character, to make them the comedy relief. You've got to do it in a way that doesn't undermine their authority.
Yeah, you got to have them maintain that, because otherwise you're not going to take them seriously for the rest of the time.
Yeah, and I think there are bits, there are great, when he's sort of talking to the Doctor and he's like, no, and he's so dismissive of everything. But I think, in a way, that's him just trying to rationalise all the crazy stuff that's going on.
I mean, it's still new to him. It's his first time in the TARDIS, isn't it?
That was a really cool scene as well, the first TARDIS scene, because obviously we've done the Brig for ages, but he's never been in the TARDIS, he's never had a reason to. And I love his reaction as he's looking around and the Doctor's like, oh, it's crazy. And he's like, is this what you've been doing with all the unit's money? Just sticking it in here and everything, thinking that he's just like embezzling funds from the UN.
I can't remember which Doctor it was, but he said, one of the Doctors goes, oh, aren't you going to say it's bigger on the inside? Everyone else does.
Oh, that was Pertwee to Benton at the end of the first episode. That was good.
Yeah, so there was a lot of firsts in this one. I enjoyed the first part of this quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the first half of it is really great because it feels like it's really building to something. It's only after that, I think, where the stakes, not that the stakes are removed, but it does become a bit more sort of talky and a bit ploddier.
Pantomimey.
Not that I wouldn't necessarily go that far.
Omega was very pantomimey, I think.
See, I thought Stephen Thorne was great. I think he's brilliant. You need someone with a big voice like that because you've got him behind a mask.
Hell of a voice.
It's a great performance.
Yeah.
And I think the design is awesome. And it's quite interesting to see for the first time a look at Time Lord history because we haven't. It's quite interesting to see, for the first time a look at Time Lord history because we haven't had that up to this point yet. We've seen the Time Lords a couple of times, but nothing major. They've been very sort of ethereal beings and stuff. It's nice to get a bit of a backstory with Omega and how he was the one that basically gave them the power of time travel, and then they kicked him out for it.
Yeah.
It sort of does. It starts to hint at that sort of thing about maybe the Time Lords aren't as great as everybody seems to think they are, and they can be a bit.
Yeah,
dodged.
it's your first little glimpse, really, at that, like a proper glimpse. You get little hints here and there, but especially in war games and stuff with the Time Lords, just forcing his regeneration on him and that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, so you're not the best. He did what he could. He did what was right, and you're punishing him for it.
Yeah.
But it's sort of stuff you can sweep under the rug, I guess. But with this one, it's very much in your face that, oh, okay, they're not the high and mighty people we thought they are. They're just as bad as the rest of us.
Yeah, and you think even though they're not meant to be interfering, we know that they do because they send the Doctor on these missions and stuff, and we think, is there a bit more to this than meets? And obviously it's not necessarily something that's a set arc, it's just something that gets hinted on continuously for, right the way through to the modern series, really.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's alright, bud. It's alright. I think with the universe of antimatter and everything, I think there was, this is probably down to budget and everything, but the whole, conjuring, you can bend the whole reality to Omega's will. It would have been quite cool to see some quite, trippy... if that was done now, you'd have a whole section that would be
Oh, yeah, no, the CGI would be incredible.
Yeah, and I know that it's probably a budgetary thing, but we do get the cliffhanger to part 3 with... I don't even know how to describe it. Omega's gimp, it's just...
It's his dark side conscience, or some...
Yeah, it's sort of a manifestation.
It's his bad will.
It's basically him going, you want to fight mentally? Well, you can fight the dark side of my mind, and it's just some
slow motion
gimp suit.
Yeah, slow motion gimp fight scene. That's the best I can come up with.
What other show would you get that way you could describe a scene as a slow motion gimp fight? You wouldn't get that in anything else. You wouldn't get that in Emmerdale or something, would you?
But no, it's not even a case of they were fighting fast and it's being slowed down. It is a case of they are actively trying to slow down the fight. You see Pertwee go to punch, and you could just...
and it's the same shot a couple of times.
And it's just...
It does.
It's great. Oh, yeah, no, it does.
I think it's quite... I think with Omega as well, what I liked about Omega is the fact that it's very unusual to see the Third Doctor get shouted down by someone. Because it's usually him, he deals with all of these, most of the time he's dealing with sort of government officials and, politicians and other aliens and stuff where he's just shouting at them. And he just gets pointed across the eye. I think of the scene in Claws of Axos where he's like, oh, England for the English, great, good heavens, man, and everything, he's shouting them down. But in this, Omega shouts down the Doctor and you could see that he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't like
he's
this.
taken aback, and that's unusual, especially for the Third Doctor, because he's one of the more,
authoritative.
Yeah, he's an authority figure, and it's very unusual to see that taken away from him. And I think it creates Omega as a really big threat. I think I would have liked to have seen that more in Pertwee's era, but then at the same time it doesn't, because it would lessen the impact, because there are some Doctors that struggle to, get on the same side as the, not the enemy, but the people that, he doesn't necessarily walk into a room and agree with everybody. Davison struggles with that. The Fifth Doctor he's always sort of getting locked up or not believed and stuff, but whereas the Third Doctor doesn't.
No.
He's quite often there being like, I think that's, most of that is the unit backing and everything, but he doesn't have that sometimes, and I think to have all of this stripped away, it's quite an interesting position to put the Third Doctor in. Yeah,
no, especially because even Troughton and Hartnell, they were both quite authoritative in their role.
Hartnell more than Troughton?
Yeah, 100%. Troughton was more the let your hair down, just have a wacky time type Doctor for the age.
He's got a bit of a dark streak behind him a little bit, You can see that's where Matt Smith picks up a lot of his Doctor from. And he said that before, that Troughton was his favourite when he sort of started rewatching old ones for research and everything. But Omega I really like. I think it's a really cool idea to have, what would it mean for someone who basically created the Time Lords to do what they do, to be then kicked out and kept in this sort of antimatter universe. Of course you're going to be absolutely fuming.
Yeah.
You can almost, it's one of those rare times of Doctor Who where you actually get behind the villain a little bit, because you think,
oh yeah,
I would be absolutely.
Backstory. The backstory is incredible. I really enjoyed it. It definitely does make you feel for Omega.
And the stuff with them, the whole, like, he's been in this antimatter universe for so long, he's sort of basically disappeared, and he only exists as his own will. And they lift the mask up, and he's like, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And Stephen Thorne gives that really, like, gut-wrenching scream.
Scream of, like, what's happened.
And he's like, it's really good stuff. The only thing for me with this is that you get that build through, especially the first half, and then you meet Omega, and then it just becomes a case of locked up, escape, run around. It becomes very formulaic Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's Doctor Who by numbers.
Yeah, if this was a new series episode, it would probably be a two-party. The first part would be the reveal of Omega, of him trying to break back into our universe, and then it would be like this big climactic battle and everything. Omega would have armies of God knows what, and it would be something like that.
Of bubble wrap monsters.
Yeah, of more of Mr. Blobby's smackhead friends, and whereas with this, it just becomes a bit more Doctor Who by numbers. But then I suppose at that point, this is a anniversary thing that they've done where the big thing is that they've got more than one Doctor in it. The story isn't necessarily, because I think as the anniversaries go on, which we'll look at as we go forward, the stories are more. It's quite fan wanky.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily.
It's a lot of fan service going on.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but at this point, there's not that longevity that they can see. For them, this series could end in like 2 or 3 years. It doesn't really matter. It's just a nice little fun thing for people who have been watching for the past 10 years.
To enjoy.
Yeah. And I think that if we were to look at it as an anniversary special, for the first one, yeah, it basically does everything it needs to. It brings back the two other Doctors. It has them all interacting. There's a bit of a bigger threat than usual. And the Doctor saves the day and everyone goes home. Everyone's happy, Is supper ready and all that? Which I think is such a funny ending where Mr. Hollis goes back and his wife's giving him like, where have you been? All the soldiers have been looking for you. We've been like, I've been worried, dead sick. And he goes to Terry, he goes, now you'd never believe me, woman. Where's my supper? And it's like, there it is. There's the 70s Doctor Who that we all know about.
I tell you what, though. Pertwee's recorder being the reason why they're safe.
Oh yeah,
he trapped his recorder in the TARDIS's force field. So when they all got transported to the antimatter world, it wasn't transformed. So the whole idea was everything that had matter got transformed into antimatter during this travel, so it could exist in said monster world. Charlton's there panicking, thinking, oh Christ, where's my recorder? He really doesn't see the bigger picture. Pertwee offers to give him 1,000 recorders, which I think would be quite funny. But yeah, no, it was that getting knocked out of the force field generator that actually meant that everything was back to normal.
It basically saves the day.
Yeah, the recorder is life.
I do love the bit where they're going back through the singularity and everything, and it's built up to be this big thing. And in the book, it's like this big pillar of flame and everything, and it's just like a little platform with some dry ice being fired up.
Not being funny, I don't think they could have actors back then walking through flame because of the costumes alone. It's how much polyester's in them. Just see the Brigadier.
No, I know. It's just quite funny and everything. I think the highlight of this one for me though is the interactions between Troughton and Pertwee, and obviously see Hartnell again. But I think that's where this story excels for me, is just purely in it's a character thing rather than necessarily a big high stakes. Like the stakes feel big, but it's more about how funny is this to have Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee winding each other up and then eventually, working together.
Yeah.
And Jo's the main catalyst for that, so Jo still gets a big part to do in this,
Oh, yeah, I think she has one of the biggest parts out of a lot of the female companions in classic era.
Yeah, it's quite easy with big anniversary stories where you bring everyone back to feel, sometimes they can feel a bit sidelined. I mean, look at Power of the Doctor. There's too many people in that to give everybody a shred of... But Jo still has that quite important, because she's the one who goes, right, you're meant to be working together, stop arsing around, and winding each other up and get on with it. And they do that, and by the end of it, they've sort of, when they come out the TARDIS and everything, they're like, oh well, you were good at that, oh well, that was well done you, and everything. And they really, they've respecting each other a bit.
Yeah.
So overall,
it was a nice goodbye scene as well for Troughton. It's like and Pertwee, and it was really nice to watch the ending.
Yeah.
You did have that little bit of a dip in the middle of the second half of this story, with everything going on, but it definitely picked up towards the end.
I think as a story, it works.
Yeah.
As an anniversary celebration, not so much, but then this is the first one that they've done.
Yeah, it's the start point. It's a start point. It can only go up from here, is what I can guess from that. And I'm not being funny. It did hit a big. It did hit with a big swing on this one.
Yeah,
and I really did enjoy the other specials, not Dimensions in Time.
Yeah, I mean, next week we're going to be coming back with the 5 Doctors, which, without meaning to give anything away, I think is still my favourite. Just because I've got a lot of childhood nostalgia for it, seeing it on DVD a lot. That was one of the ones I was watching all the time when it was on DVD, because it's got everybody in, and it's got the Daleks and the Cybermen, the Yeti and the Master and everything. But we'll come to that next week. Yeah, well, Rassilon's there as well.
Yes, allegedly.
Keep saying allegedly for. He is there.
Word of the day, toilet paper.
And on that note, we will see you next week for a review of the 5 Doctors. Let us know what you think of 3 Doctors in the comments below, and like, share, and subscribe.
Yes.
And all that stuff. Have I missed out anything else?
No.
Follow us on the socials.
Yes, follow us on socials. We are on X. Yeah. And Twitter.
Calling it X though.
No, it's Twitter.
Yeah, we're on.
We're on Twitter until they start charging people to have the accounts, and
then we won't be.
Yeah, then we won't be. Then we'll be on TikTok a lot more, I'd imagine. Probably Facebook as well.
Does anybody use Facebook except for old racists now? Like, does anybody ever use that?
No, I just shit post dog videos and stuff. To be honest.
Yeah, this is true. Anyways, we'll see you next week.
See you soon.
Bye.